Welcome back to The Takeout, coming your way from our broadcast center in New York. We're continuing, of course, to follow the U.S. war on Iran and what appears to be a somewhat rapidly expanding conflict in the Middle East. I want to turn to Elliot Ackerman and David Bellavia. Elliot is a former CIA officer, Marine Corps veteran, who is a CBS News contributor, been on our program several times. David, he's not a former. You're a Medal of Honor recipient. There is no former there ever, and he's an Army veteran. He's also the co-founder of Vets for Freedom, which you might recall Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth ran back in the day. So I want to start this. Elliot, I'll give you an opening 30 or 45 seconds. No is your answer about now and this effort. Tell me why.
Well, I would actually frame it as no, Major. Sorry, it's not quite so much as a binary for me. I mean, listen, if this effort is successful, I applaud it. You know, the Iranian regime has targeted U.S. interests in the region for years. You know, I have friends who were killed by Iranian proxies. So if this endeavor is successful, I'm all for it. It is, however, incredibly risky. It relies upon elements of Iranian civil society to rise up and take control of their government. We are toppling a regime in a region that is extremely complex. Iran is the second largest country in the Middle East. And I just am very skeptical that this isn't going to get very, very messy and that it's not going to be over for quite some time. So call me rooting for this to succeed, but doubting that it will be as easy as the Trump administration is saying it might be.
David, do me your analysis of the risk-opportunity proposition.
Well, look, I think that's a fair assessment of any combat operation, and I respect that. I think I'm far too emotional when it comes to Iran because of all the people that we lost, because of the lack of response that we've had for decades over this regime and the way it's conducted itself. But the reality here is that we're seeing an operation that we've never seen before. There is a mindset with this Department of War that, you know, when you fight, the chains come off and you go after the enemy for the end state. And with here, if we're going to negotiate and sit around with the Ayatollah after negotiation after negotiation, at what point do we just say enough's enough? I respect the Trump administration for saying we're not going to repeat the sins of George H.W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan. Republicans beloved Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan failed us when it came to Iran and did not respond when we lost Marines in Beirut. This president is saying no more. And I can't, from the bottom of my heart, with Gold Star families and friends that we've lost, this has been coming for a long time.
I don't think anyone in my audience would disagree with anything you just said, David. But on the risk proposition that what may come next could be messy, how do you evaluate that?
I don't know of any confrontation. Maduro could have been, you want to talk about messy. We just had a helicopter pilot that received the Medal of Honor. He landed on a machine gun nest. These things are messy, and there's always the capability of, with our amazing technology, could be neutralized. We could find ourselves, outnumbered, outgunned. These things happen. But at the end of the day, how many more Americans are we going to lose? How many more innocent people? The response of a regime in its death rattle is to launch drones at hotels and apartment buildings. I don't know how we can fight. And here's another thing. Ukraine, the righteous fight in Ukraine against Vladimir Putin. Who's arming Vladimir Putin? These are the axis of evil that we heard about so many years ago. I believe that this is different. The way we fight is different. Technology is different. And I believe that we can be clean. I trust our military. I trust our leadership. And so far, what we're seeing right now, domination of the air in 48 hours, this is one of the most impressive military operations I've seen in my lifetime.
Elliot, many a commanding general have been told this time it's going to be different, not just in the Middle East. But I'm going to give you the last minute and a half to give us your perspective on what you've heard from David and what you have written so far in Free Press.
I think oftentimes, we Americans, because we have such an effective and capable military that has the ability to accomplish incredible missions like what we saw in Venezuela, we lose sight of the fact that war is fundamentally a political action. You use military force to affect political change on the ground. And in Iran, the politics are essential, and we are staking everything not on whether or not our jets will be able to get in and hit their targets. We know they're going to be able to do that. But the question is, then what? How does that change the politics in Iran? How does that change the politics in the Middle East? And for me, that's where there is enormous question mark. And if we look at the history of the Middle East, politics there is traditionally extremely messy, which makes it appear that this war is going to be messy and go on for quite some time, and that ultimately the juice might not be worth the squeeze. But I'm rooting for success. But if I'm watching one thing, it's the politics on the ground in Iran.
Very quickly, Elliot, Iran was a malevolent actor in Iraq after the 2003 invasion and toppling of Saddam. Syria is now destabilized. Do you see anything that is fearful to you about Iran, Iraq, Syria as unpredictable results of what has just occurred?
Well, I think this goes back to the idea of what are the politics on the ground in Iran. The Ayatollahs do have real support. It's minority support, but 20% of the Iranian population are hardline supporters of the Islamic Republic. I don't know if that support just vanishes. And if it doesn't, you also have the risk of a civil war inside Iran, which would be incredibly destabilizing for the region, as we saw with Syria.
Elliot Ackerman, David Bellavia, I appreciate you both for coming on and giving your perspective so my audience could take it all in. Thank you very much for your time.